In 1973, my family was expecting their fifth child. My parents had 2 boys and 2 girls, but they were still excited for their fifth child to come. It was a warm spring day, and Mom knew she was going to have this baby today. Yet, Mom being who Mom is, she cleaned the house up. She went to the hair salon to get her hair done. This was her fifth child. She knew she had time to get all that done before going to the hospital. It was around 4 o'clock, and she called my dad to take her into the hospital. At the hospital, Mom was admitted, and Dad stayed out a spot in the waiting room. He had not been allowed in the delivery room for the births of his other children, and he didn't intend to change that tradition for this one. Mom and Dad exchanged a kiss, and then he took a seat in front of the television while she was rolled into the delivery room, just as she had been 4 times before. The doctors, too, expected an easy birth, yet it wasn't long before extra attention was required. The umbilical cord was prolapsed. This means that the cord had entered the birth canal ahead of me, cutting off my supply of oxygen. In a race against the clock, the medical team tried to reposition the umbilical cord and get me out. I was born 45 minutes later, and I was given CPR for another 40 minutes. The lack of oxygen to my brain caused an injury to the motor portion of it. I have a disability called cerebral palsy. I am classified as an athetoid, which means my muscles never stop moving. The road of my life was not going to be a smooth road. Do you know how frustrating it is not to be able to express yourself? Do you know how frustrating it is not to be able to tell your mother or father what was wrong with you? I know how frustrating that is because for the first 6 years of my life, my family and I played a guessing game. Communication rate became an important aspect of my life at a very young age. It was frustrating for me trying to play charades with my family. Every time I wanted or needed something, the guessing game began. At times, I became so frustrated that I would curl up in a ball and cry. Nobody could understand me, even after I tried to point and gesture to the object that I wanted or needed. For myself, it was very frustrating, yet it was even more frustrating for my communication partner. They didn't know what I needed or wanted, so they were equally as frustrated. This is where my speech-language pathologist gave us a picture board to solve the problem of communication. It had pictures of the bedroom, a mom, a dad, a way to say I love you, I want a drink, and those types of things. It did solve a little of the frustration, but I was a child that wanted to say more than that. I had other things that I wanted to say, and I couldn't do it with a picture board. I remember one time going to school. It was snowy, and my mom put boots on me and put my gym shoes in a different bag. The teacher took off my boots and asked me where my shoes were at. I nodded my head to the back of my wheelchair. She couldn't understand it, so she brought out my picture board. There was no picture for the bag in the back of my wheelchair, so I kept trying to gesture. She started getting mad with me because I wouldn't use the board. I started to cry and was put in the corner until I could settle down. After that, we developed a word book. I would have to page through the book to find the word I wanted. It did help me communicate, but when a word lost in the book, I had to spell it out. This was a very slow process of communication. communication with a picture board and gestures wasn't enough for me, but how would they ever know that? I couldn't exactly tell them what was happening in my mind, so I tried to communicate with what I had and what I knew. It was at 6 years old that I received my first augmentative communication device. It was a word-based system that had 4 levels of words on it. Also, on the 4th level of it, it had 3 rows of phonetic letters. You could sound out any word that you wanted to say. The system here allowed me to say anything that I wanted to say. This device had a reputation of not being a good device to start children on. Most believed it was too difficult for children to learn. I was sent home with that device on a Friday, and by Friday night I was already talking in complete sentences with it. Now, here is my question to you. Do you think if she sent me home with a bunch of pre-programmed stored phrases, I would have wanted to use it? Do you know why? Do you know why? Not. Do you know why not? You're right on. Just wondering if you knew why. You're right on just wondering if you knew why. I can tell you right now, I wouldn't have wanted to use it. My speech-language pathologist gave me words for the first time in my life, and I could finally tell my older brothers and sisters to leave me alone. I could say what I wanted to say for the first time in my life, and that is why I used it quickly. This changed the course of my life. All of a sudden, the special education teacher realized I was ahead of the rest of the students, and knew she needed to do something about it. She suggested that I needed to be mainstreamed, and I was starting with show and tell that were in 1st grade. In 2nd grade, my IEP committee decided to mainstream me for math. I surpassed all of their expectations, so by 3rd grade my parents and teacher fought to have me mainstreamed full-time. The committee agreed to it, but the school decided that it would pay for the bus ride instead of trying to make the accommodations for me at my own school. At that time, they were able to decide to do that, so I rode a bus 30 minutes every day to and from school. I went to school with children not in my neighborhood, which is a big thing because I wasn't able to do many social things with my classmates. We will talk about social impact in a minute, but I want to emphasize that we needed everybody to fight the system. My teacher, my parents, and even the principal of the school I was in and the school I was going to. I always hated my IEP meetings because I always had to sit there and listen to what other people thought of me. Nobody knew the abilities I had, but they were determining the goals I should have. Everybody had to fight on my behalf. I want to encourage you to be an advocate for your students. You are going to have to be that for them.
Yes.
We are going to switch gears a little here and talk about communication. As teachers, you might not experience many with complex speech disabilities, but I believe it's important to be prepared. Communication devices have been known to use pre-programmed sentences and words that are nouns more. People believe people that use AAC need to order food, tell somebody what they need, and those types of things. I don't believe they are looking at the bigger picture. A communication device has the opportunity to give a person a chance to have a life. In order for that communication device to do that, it has to give the person the chance to say anything he wants to say. I want to talk briefly about core vocabulary here. How many of you here have heard discussions about core vocabulary? Probably nobody. Right. Probably nobody, right. How many words do you think we use? 80% of the time. How many words do you think we use 80% of the time?
Each table guess.
Yeah.
How many? 100? Okay, we're gonna guess, Chris. Okay, this table, what did you guess? 200. They guessed 200.
Maybe 25 low.
Let's keep it low.
150. What's this group guess?
Let's see it.
250.
75.
75. My last group. 100. Okay, Chris.
I have to say this is better than most speech-language pathologists, students, which usually say 1, 0, 0, 0, 1,000. I have to say this is better than most speech-language pathologist students, which usually say 1,000. Core vocabulary is the 400 words that we use 80% of the time.
We were way off. At least we didn't say.
Core vocabulary is based on frequency. The fact that a small number of words makes up most of the vocabulary can be important in designing AAC systems. It is hard to believe that core vocabulary is so consistent. Yet, we have studies that have shown that it is consistent between population, places, and activities. We don't see enough of these core words on communication boards and devices. I want to ask you a question. How much do you say toothbrush in a day or in a week? How much do you say stuff in a day or week? I think it is pretty obvious that we say stuff a lot more than toothbrush, and yet toothbrush is probably on more communication devices. We think someone has to say toothbrush because it is important to tell someone you use a toothbrush to brush my teeth. Let's play a game. Let's say we are going to teach a unit on George Washington, and we want our student to participate with his or her communication device. What words do we need on our communication devices?
America.
President,
No cherry tree.
Keep going. Keep going.
Year.
Yeah.
What other thing? George Washington.
White House.
Whoa, good one.
This.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I like it.
H-I-L. Hilarious. Every time. To me. This is hilarious every time to me. Okay. What did I just talk about 2 seconds ago? Okay, what did I just talk about 2 seconds ago? So, if all I had was nouns, like you just said, what would I talk about after class? So if all I had was nouns like you just said, what would I talk about after class?
George Washington.
Nothing. Can I describe him with core vocabulary? Can I describe him with core vocabulary? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. He was the first P-R-E president. He was the first president. Do you know? I know it better with describing words, or just hitting a button that says his name or whatever. Do you know I know it better with describing words or just hitting a button that says his name or whatever? What do you think? What do you think? I'm trying to point out, even if I'm using a communication device. You need to teach me a language. So, by having access to those 400 words, I can learn just about anything, right? That's what I'm trying to point out. Even if I'm using a communication device, you need to teach me language. So by having access to those 400 words, I can learn just about anything, right? I am going to stop there and open it up for questions. I am going to stop there and open it up for questions. Anything.
Yeah.
What was your degree from Hope in? Good question.
Kinesiogy. Kinesiology.
Any of the same professors here, Chris?
Some are still here. Some are still here. I'm not that young anymore. I'm not that young anymore. I'm not that young anymore.
What did you do after seminary?
Well, I started to speak around the ITRPR country, and now I'm still doing some preaching, but I am doing more speaking about communication and trying to change some ideas out There. Well, I started to speak around the country and now I'm still doing some preaching, but I am doing more speaking about communication and trying to change some ideas out there. Sorry about hitting you over the head about core vocabulary, but it's that important. Sorry about hitting you over the head about core vocabulary, but it's that important.
Have you seen improvements in communication devices since you were young?
Yes and no. This is the best device I have had because the vocabulary was created by a L-I-N-G linguist, which he understands what a person needs, and after we met, we started working together. Yes and no, this is the best device I have had because the vocabulary was created by a linguist, which he understands what a person needs, and after we met, we started working together.
So did you help design this product, or are you working on one right now?
No. He had it already done and working. However, I'm a person that uses AAC that can explain why right angle bracket. It works well to everybody. No, he has it already done and working. However, I'm a person that uses AAC that can explain why it works well to everybody.
More questions? Where are you living right now, Chris?
We're still in GR. We're still in GR.
How long have you been married for?
Almost 3 years going on about 24 after the year we have had almost 3 years going on about 24 after the year we have had.
You have a crazy year? What happened that you can share with us this year?
Her father died. She lost a job. Her other job cut her hours. Even so, it has been one thing after another. Her father died. She lost a job. Her other job cut her hours, so it has been one thing after another.
How did you meet your wife?
Internet.
Is it one of those, you guys know better about that.
Harmony.
Gotcha.
What are some of your goals for the near future, later in life?
Getting back to HOLLAND, Holland, finishing writing my book, and maybe one day having a normal job myself. But I think I am going to be on the road a lot still, getting back to Holland, finishing writing my book, and maybe one day having a normal job myself, but I think I am going to be on the road a lot still.
Hey, can we come up and look at your communication board?
Yes,
Especially these ladies back here.
you can. Stop that.
Are they both the